Okay, welcome everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. Sorry we're running a few minutes late today. The board did meet in closed session and we have two reportable actions. In closed session this afternoon, Superintendent President Stan Carrizosa recommended to the Board of Trustees that the manager program developer for the Training Resource Center be released from her appointment as an educational administrator, effective at the end of the business day on June 30th, 2015. The board had a roll call vote on this recommendation and the results were 5-0 in favor of releasing the manager program developer for Training Resource Center from her appointment as an educational administrator effective at the end of the business day on June 30th, 2015. The board also, in closed session, met this afternoon, and Superintendent President Carrizosa indicated the funding for the TRIO Student Support Services grant is ending effective August 31st, 2015. In anticipation of this grant ending, Mr. Carrizosa recommended to the Board of Trustees that the director of the TRIO Upward Bound grant be released from his appointment as an educational administrator effective at the end of the business day on June 30th, 2015. Mr. Carrizosa further advised, however, the district still intends to employ the director of the TRIO Upward Bound grant for the 2015-16 year at a minimum of 50%, but indicated the district would not be bringing details of this employment arrangement. Will be bringing arrangements at a future board meeting. Based upon Mr. Carrizosa's recommendation, the board had a roll call vote and the results were 5-0 in favor of releasing the director of the TRIO Ground Upward Bound from his appointment as an educational administrator effective at the end of the business day, June 30th, 2015. The board further acknowledged that the director of the TRIO Upward Bound grant would continue to be employed at least 50% in 15-16, but would await upcoming details at a future board meeting. That being said, Jennifer, would you lead us in our pledge?
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start with public comment. Per Board Policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time on any agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. Do we have any public comments concerning items on the agenda? Yes. Okay.
Good evening. I needed to give my report early because I have to leave.
Okay.
And I wanted to take this opportunity to invite everyone here to the summit on the strategic plan this Saturday. We have a good turnout so far. We're hoping to get a few more in the next couple of days to sign up. So we have a really good program ready to go. And I'd like to thank our co-sponsors. They've been really great this year, a lot of support. The Institutional Planning and Effectiveness Committee, the COS Foundation, CSEA and CASAFA are both co-sponsoring, as well as the Office of the Superintendent President.
Okay.
So we're really looking forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any further comments concerning items on the agenda? Any items not on the agenda? Mr. Lamar.
One, this Friday, the 13th. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
I will be there.
It opens Friday the 13th. Don't miss it.
What a day to
Sunday, I know. I'm not coming Friday, I'm coming Sunday. It's a little much for me on a Friday the 13th. Okay, any other comments with concerning items not on the agenda? No? Okay. Okay, we will move on to our board and executive reports, starting out with our student trustee report.
Good evening, everybody. A little update on what Student Senate's been up to. This coming Thursday, Student Senate will actually be having their class outside in the quad area because they will have 3 different locations with laptops set up, encouraging students to take the student survey. We're hoping that with the convenience of having these laptops out in the quad area, it'll encourage more students to give their feedback so we can get a better understanding of what needs to be done. Also, like Dr. Trimble had mentioned, the COS Summit is this Saturday. We already have 15 students, I believe, from Student Senate who have reserved spots, and we are very happy for the student involvement. Another thing to report on that I'm personally very excited about, this coming Wednesday, our Student Senate President, Abby Gregory, our advisor, Debbie Douglas, and I will be on our way to Washington, D.C. for a week for the National Leadership Conference. It's going to be a great opportunity to network, workshop, and learn a lot more, and it's going to be great. So that concludes my report. So.
Have you been to Washington DC before,
I've
Jennifer?
never.
Oh, well, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, we
I heard it's
had-
going to
Yeah.
be cold, so I need to go buy some boots. So.
Yes, I just spoke with somebody yesterday that had just gotten back and they said it was freezing, so if
Yeah,
that's the word.
The city's been shut down
Yep.
multiple days.
Well, and after you've been to DC a few times, regardless of the weather, you know always to wear boots.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go buy some.
Well, have a great time
Thank
and,
you so much.
and we can't wait to hear about it when you get back.
Of course.
Board members, any questions of our student rep? Okay, we will move on. Any board member reports? John, do you want to give a quick little report on our Hanford meeting?
Yeah, I would. We met in Hanford. It was a three-way meeting between the Hanford City Council, the high school board of trustees, and this board. And if you recall, Hanford has that three-way relationship. Those three entities jointly own the property on which the Hanford campus is on. Also, the Sierra Pacific High School and the city's athletic facilities, mostly ball diamonds, it's all jointly owned and jointly administered. We try to get together from time to time and need to conduct certain amount of business. There was I had some conversations subsequent to that meeting that I'd like to share. We had some business that involved a part of the property and involved some ag issues that our ag program, the high school is trying to get started. I was shocked to find out that Hanford High has the largest FFA, Future Farmers America, organization in the United States. I knew Tulare was an impressive size. I had no idea that somebody would be bigger than that, but apparently Hanford is. They're trying to get somewhat of an ag program started over there, and so far we're observers, but it'd be interesting to see where that leads. Hanford City Council in recent years has had some internal strife, and in the meetings we've had the last couple of years, I was somewhat disappointed in that they didn't seem to be real enthused about what we were all trying to do. I was worried that all the enthusiasm that got that facility started in the first place might go away. Well, I came away with just the opposite feeling, if anything. I hope the board shares that. But we had a city council that was not only interested in what was going on, is surprisingly quite well informed already. And it was one of the most enjoyable meetings I've ever had. And then over the next couple of days, I got calls from various city councilmen basically saying the same thing. And so I think that whatever brilliant idea we come up with to make that whole thing work better, the topic's at least going to be well received. And I don't know what that means. You know, the college is committed to, is the Tulare campus is where our ag program is. Visalia is allied health. Hanford is public safety, and then there's some other issues that move around, like the industrial maintenance program that's really doing well over there, and is also here. But anyway, I'm not suggesting we change that, but if they're going to have that successful an ag program, and if they're going to actually build some facilities themselves, I suppose in the coming years we'll need to investigate how to fit in with that better, not in the form of partnerships. We have 11 or 1,200 ag students over there, and some of them might want to take ag classes, and we might need to look at, I have no idea what I'm saying, but it's something we need to look into, of course.
I agree.
I think I'm starting to repeat myself now, but it was just a great meeting, and I think our three-way partnership's alive and well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to show up there with the city council that actually showed up, because I think the couple of years before that, we may have had two of them show up. So
And
we
they
had all
cared,
five
and they
of
looked
them
like they
there.
cared.
Yeah.
One of the city councilmen was on, Dave Ayers, he was on the city council for 12 years, lost an election 4 years ago, ran this and got reelected. And he went to quite a bit of trouble to talk about that was the accomplishment he was the proudest of. And so here at City Council, we're proud of an education facility. I like that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and that partnership has worked, so thank you. Do we have any other board member reports? No. Okay, our foundation report, Mr. Foster.
Hello. I just wanted to report a couple of quick things. We hosted at our Tulare campus the Western Dairy Challenge, and this was the second year in a row that we've hosted that. High ratings from the students and the coaches in attendance. Some really good anecdotal quotes from some of the coaches too. So we're really excited about that, the success of that. This means that more money is going to come our way in the form of ag scholarship. The conference did so well the challenge did so well last year monetarily that they gave us some money, some extra money, and put it in the form of a ag scholarship, and they're going to embellish that fund more this time. And Dr. Dudo has a lead on another group that wants to establish another ag scholarship as an outcome of this Western Dairy Challenge. We have one more year that we will host it, and then it will take its natural course of rotating to some other location.
Is that put on, who's the main organization? Holstein Association? Who do you work with on that? Who puts it on?
Man, I've only been to a couple of the organizing meetings, and there's a lot of different players
Oh, there
around
are.
the table,
Okay,
so I don't know
okay.
that there is.
It's not one organization?
I don't know that there is.
Okay,
I really
okay.
don't. And this spans across schools from Texas to Canada, UC Davis,
Yep.
Davis, Poly. I don't think they have an ag program.
I doubt it. Or any
Maybe a
program.
PETA program.
It's too conservative.
There's some new contributors to the campus's cultural events has come up. We've had some organizational meetings trying to get the arts and lectures program back up, and so we got some interest from professors David Hurst, Marla Prochnow, Joseph Teller, Stephen Tootle, and LRC Director Mary Catherine Oxford. So we've joined up to try to put some scheduling together and some more horsepower behind offering cultural events to our community at our campus. And so we've made some progress with that. We do want to rename the program to CHAP, which stands for Cultural Historical Awareness Program, as an effort to kind of start the slate clean at the beginning of the new school year. We have an intention of creating at least 6 events per school year, and starting the 2015-2016 year with each year having sort of a broad theme under which program topics can be housed. And so this first theme would be freedom and inquiry. And so we're really excited about having that many folks get involved in creating some opportunities. Speaking of arts and lectures, because we still have our arts and lectures calendar, and we're still plugging away with that. The first item on our upcoming events is an arts and lecture event it's presenting historian and professor Stephen Miner, and he is an authority on Russian and Eastern European history. So there'll be some discussion about Nazis and the effect that the Nazis had on the higher educational system while they were in power, and what they were doing to change history and that kind of thing. So very interesting lecture to come. And then the other events you've seen before, but I wanted to just keep them in front of you, that we have the 3 CSF luncheons coming, we have the Equestrian Beast Feast coming on April 18th, and the CUS Athletics President's Cup on the 24th.
Okay. Any questions, board members? Thank you. Very
No
much.
phone.
You didn't find my phone?
Didn't find your
We called it, but it wasn't in the dumpster.
Okay, next up, we have our accreditation report.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a couple of things. One is that we have to submit a substantive change proposal anytime there is there's a number of categories, about 15 of them, anytime we make a change in any of those areas. One of those is if we have any programs that can be offered 50% or more through distance education. And so that doesn't mean we necessarily offer those classes through distance education, but that they've been approved to be offered through distance education. So because most of our general ed courses are offered some form or another of distance education, that put a number of our programs, about 62 of them, as the possibility of being offered 50% or more through distance education. So we submitted that substantive change proposal, which is pretty thick document, and this is our second one this year. We couldn't submit it earlier while we were on sanctions, so we just submitted that, and we got approval today that all of those 62 programs were approved. So they're existing programs that have a component of distance education. So we received that notification today. We also are in the process of submitting our annual report to the ACCJC, and that's due on March 30th, so we're working on that information. And we have the midterm report that's due in October, and the team is working on getting that information together. The other item that's been mentioned is our strategic plan forum, and we have about 60 people registered right now, although the deadline is tomorrow, I believe, and so we'll have an update on that. And I just want to reiterate Dr. Trimble's comments about all of the support we've gotten from the foundation and CASAFA, CSEA, the President's Office, and then the Academic Senate. They've done a fantastic job. This really is a faculty-led, faculty-focused event, and they bring in the community and everybody else, and our Student Senate signed up the first day with 15 students, so we're really excited about their participation as well. So one of the things we talked about, including under the accreditation report, was hot topics for board members. And so the one that we're going to talk about today, we have a short PowerPoint for you on the COS Pathway to College Partnership. And two of our leaders of this project are the Dean of Arts and Letters, Stephanie Collier, and our Provost from Hanford, Dr. Kristen Robinson. You should have a PowerPoint and a handout in your packet, and there's extra PowerPoints and handouts up here if anyone needs them. So.
You can do it.
Good evening. So Dr. Robinson and I are going to be talking about just some of the components of our partnership, Pathway to College Partnership. I can never remember what it's called. So I'm going to start with the overview. The first component is that in the fall of the fall senior semester, the students start out in our English 251, which is our pre-transfer course. They go through all of the regular steps to enroll in this course. They fill out our COS application, they take our placement test, and then those students determined to be eligible for this course, and also I think kind of determined eligible by their high school, enroll in this course. In the spring, those students that have passed the English 251 go into the English 1 course, which is our transfer level English course, like our freshman composition. These classes for the Pathways courses are taught on our high school campuses, and in a few slides we'll be talking about all of the different campuses that we are currently teaching these courses on. The faculty who teach the course are COS faculty. They are hired through our regular hiring processes. Some of those faculty members are our adjunct faculty. Some of them are the actual high school faculty who meet our minimum requirements to teach English, and then they've gone through the hiring process. We've been encouraging this because it kind of gives the high schools a little bit more flexibility about when they offer those courses. But if a high school doesn't have a faculty member who's either interested and qualified or whatever to teach, then we do look for an adjunct faculty member to teach that course.
Stephanie, what would you say
Yes.
right now your ratio of that is? The teachers that are already on the high school
On the high school
campuses?
campuses, Corcoran is a high school teacher. Hanford High is not, no, just Corcoran, and Tulare.
There are only two that are current.
Right. Corcoran and
The rest are all
Tulare
the
are.
high school teachers.
Yeah, Corcoran and Tulare are the only high school teachers, the rest are adjunct.
Oh, okay. That would be the other way around. Okay.
Sorry, I went too fast. It is our traditional, our regular COS curriculum. It hasn't been altered or changed. Whatever the course outline of record for the 251 and the 1 are that are taught here, or Tulare or Hanford on our college campuses, is the exact same curriculum that's taught. And it has all of the same levels of standards and expectations that are taught here on our college campuses.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Is the typical student that would take these classes, now, have they already completed their high school, the high school English requirement, or are they taking
No,
that?
this
Would they
is-
be taking a high school class at the same time, English class at the same time, or?
No, this is actually in lieu of.
In
The
lieu
English-
of,
Yes, the
okay.
English 251 meets the A through G requirements for grade 11. The English 1 meets the high school A through G requirements for 12th grade. And so all of the students this is their senior
Got it.
year of high school, which again has.
Okay, that
is-
makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're getting a lot of benefit by doing that. Next slide.
Oh, not that way. And like Stephanie just said, to complete your senior English year, you're getting both college credit and high school credit. It satisfies the English prerequisite requirement for college level English, which is our English 251. This not only helps students in order to get through their English 1 their senior year, but also that's a gatekeeper class for a lot of our social science classes. So you can't take psychology, any of history. A lot of those classes have an English 251 prereq. So once we get those students through that, it opens up both their English 1 requirement and their social science requirement. Stephanie talked a little bit about the college experience, and I think that's really important because you get those juniors in, you have them fill out an application, you have them take a placement test, and all of a sudden you kind of see a light bulb turn on that says, gosh, I have 1 year and I'm going to be in college. And I think I worked with the Hanford students that day last spring, and it was a real eye-opener for those students to say, okay, I only have 1 year, and then I've got to really get my act together.
Start life.
Start life. I always say the difference between a high school senior and our freshman is 3 months, and it's just that it gives them an extra year to kind of get ready for that. It also meets the English 1 requirement for a transfer university. And with this program, we have both free tuition and the textbooks are provided by the partnership. There it goes. In 2013-14, we had a pilot program with Corcoran High School. Again, it was an English 251-1 combination for their senior year. It also provided counseling services, which we find in a lot of our boutique programs like Puente. It's an important component to be able to help get those students through the program. And in that particular program, we had a high school English teacher that was teaching at Corcoran, also served as the faculty member. We expanded the model in 2014-15 to 6 schools for the fall and spring semester, and then Tulare Western joined us in the spring for the spring semester only. And in 15-16, we see other schools that are coming on. So let me go back. 14-15, we had Corcoran, all 3 of the Hanford High Schools, Woodlake, Orosi, and then Tulare Western was for the spring. And then for 15-16, we see the rest of the Tulare schools, Exeter, Lindsay, and Visalia Unified, we hope. The results from feeder high schools, I think it's important to look at the results. So when we add up all these numbers, and let me stop at Sierra Pacific. We have, some of you know that Sierra Pacific is a fairly new high school, so we actually offer a good example of our partnership is we offer the Sierra Pacific class on the COS Hanford campus, and so we have that class is both Sierra Pacific students and general COS students. And so when you look at the pass rates of that, it's just over 90%, which is phenomenal. But you know, a lot of those classes are meeting 4 days a week, which is different than a lot of our classes. We don't have the exact data on why those classes are successful. You know, the numbers are higher, but you have a smaller population and they're meeting a little bit differently.
Kristen, do those numbers include both, does that both 251 and English 1?
Those numbers were for the fall only.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay, fall.
those are the 251 goal
Right.
numbers. Now, if, this is another interesting thing. So if you take the spring 215, and you add up the students who were successful in 251, all but 3 students registered in English 1. And with that came 6 additional students that were enrolled in Woodlake. So they had students that tested in English 1 and not the 251, so they were plugged into that English 1 class. So, and then Tulare Western had 20 students that were not part of the fall cohort.
So they can bypass 251.
They can. Well, if you
Test.
test, when you take a placement test,
Yep.
and that's something, you know, the good news is this has been the first full year of this many schools, and that's been something that we've worked on, and if there's room in that English 1, then we can plug those students in. We just need to figure out, that's one thing that I have a goal for Hanford next year, is to identify those students and identify if there's gonna be slots for that spring semester so that we can do some planning. It's hard because it's part of their actual day, so that it either requires a schedule change on the high school part
Yeah,
for that
they have a
student.
schedule
There's
for the
some,
full year, so
right,
that is that.
there's some coordination pieces, but this year when we test, I just met with the principals the other day, and this year when we test, we're gonna hopefully plug those students in who are English 1 ready, but don't need to take 251.
Right.
If we can give them their English class at that same time, then we can just plug them in the spring semester. But that's all coordination things that,
Got it, but then what would they, so they would just take like an
they
elective?
take their English 4, no, they still have to take their English 4 fall semester. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
'Cause they're,
they'd be in English half,
Right.
their high school English half the year, but then
And
you
then they
credit,
get
that
into their
makes sense.
college classes.
So I was gonna say,
So-
this would almost deter some of your honors English students who pass 251 from getting in there because
Right.
they don't have to retake 251 or they wouldn't get in. They wouldn't have the
they
opportunity.
would, they.
You
and-
miss those.
Right,
Okay.
and so that way we can line them up, but that's all coordination pieces, and it's different at every one of the high schools that we touch. Well, even within the districts, you know, I look at Hanford, and our Hanford schools operate a little bit differently in when they offer it, so.
Okay, Kristen,
Mhm.
going back to the previous slide, the 7 from Sierra Pacific, did they actually walk across to the,
They did. Yep.
Right?
So we didn't want to be upstaged by Dolly's presentations that always have cool graphics, so we figured we better put something in there that looked
Now you
a
gotta
little.
do the clicker.
Oh, shit. It all came up. Baby steps, yeah. So what's really exciting about this opportunity for the students is that when you look at it as they progress, it gets them closer to some of those key momentum points that's so important to the scorecard. It works them through a portion, because 251, even though it's not technically considered basic skills, it starts to work them through that sequence at a much better pace, as Kristen showed with the high pass rates of 90-some%. We saw, again, in those previous slide, an amazing amount of persistence. Almost every single one of those students is persisting from fall to spring, which is not the case when you're here on our campus and you look at those numbers. And it gets them closer to that 30-unit threshold. When they finish the English 251 and English 1, they've completed 8 units of college-level courses. So I'm, 22 more units, and they're at that threshold of that momentum point. So there's just so many benefits to this program. Now, of course, there are not without some challenges.
8 units or 6 units?
8. They're both 4-unit courses. Yeah, which is really exciting. So there are a few challenges that we are dealing with. Some of them are from the legislative issues, and some of them are just kind of the challenges of trying to mesh a college curriculum and college way of scheduling with a high school. So one of the first ones that we've kind of encountered is the fact that because it's a college course, even though it's on a high school, those courses are open to the public. And so that's been a challenge and sometimes a concern with the high schools of having potentially adults signing up for these courses and coming onto their campus to take those courses. But we're working with the high schools for that.
Legally, you can't restrict that.
Correct. Legally, we can't restrict it. And so we're having those discussions. Some of the high schools are looking at having them after school so that, luckily when you have a course scheduled in the regular high school day, it's kind of a wonky schedule, and so it's not going to really work with a lot of the adult students here on our campus. Priority registration is also something that we're looking into. Right now, these students have the same priority registration as any other high school student, which is at the end, for the most part, of our registration process. The apportionment, we collect apportionment, the high schools collect their apportionment, ADA. See, that's a different word, yeah. Residency, this is something that's come up quite often, especially in our region. And so again, it's just been kind of a challenge, and I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get down to the bottom of our slide. But it's something we're all working through. Again, scheduling, we have set numbers of minutes that these classes have to meet. We're trying to also make it work within the high school schedules. But the great thing is that the communication has been there, and we are making it work, as we can see by the number of students that are going through the 251-1 sequence. Again, also, we've been encouraging the high school campuses, Peanut Gallery over there. John Bratch.
John Bratch has given directions to go somewhere. You have to wait till after the meeting. You can't leave yet.
I know it's not that exciting, John, but gee whiz.
Yeah.
Siri's giving you directions too early, John.
Getting on 198.
The minimum qualifications for the faculty, to teach our college level English courses, there's a certain level of qualifications in terms of their education that they have to have. And so again, we're encouraging the high schools to look at their current faculty, see who might meet these requirements, and see if this is something that they'd be interested in. In fact, I was just over at Corcoran the other day, and even though we're not offering math, I put it into Antonia Stone's ear, who's the principal over at Corcoran, that when she's hiring her new math faculty, to see if she can get somebody with a master's degree in math so that that person can teach our pathway courses in math when they get over there. So it's just kind of those conversations that I think are really good that we're having. The privacy laws is also something interesting because, as you know here, a college student has the right to basically have all of their information protected. In a high school, it's a different setting. And so again, we're working through those to make sure that we're able to convey the information we need to the high schools, but also maintain the students' privacy. And then we have two new pieces of legislation that have come through recently. You have a copy of AB 288, the College and Career Access Pathways. I think Dr. Lislerna made sure it was in your packet. And so again, we are not unique in trying to do these pathway courses. And so this is an attempt, I think, to try and help both the high schools and the community colleges find ways to make this work to the benefit of the students and also to the benefit of themselves. So this addresses some of these legislative issues that we have been encountering. And so that's what this one speaks to. And then SB 150, which you do not have a copy of, but if anybody would like a copy of it, I'd be happy. I believe I've sent it to all of senior management, and they can send it on to you. This one addresses the fact that currently a high school student who is a non-resident, they don't have the benefits that our college students do, and they actually are charged tuition. And so within our area, we know that this is a concern, and so this is a topic that's going to be discussed at senior management, and they'll be bringing something to you perhaps in terms of some policy changes to help to allow those students to take these courses just like resident students would be able to take them without any kind of tuition attached to it. So those are some of our legislative issues. And then, questions about any of that piece?
I'd just like to make one comment and thank you for taking care of Orosi and Woodlake. I would like to see Farmersville High School added onto the list here. But I think COS's presence at Woodlake has really given a boost to the community of feeling a little bit more included. So,
They've been great to work with.
I understand the program and the adjunct person we have teaching it is outstanding.
She is, Ally Briones, yes, she's outstanding.
Any other questions? That was a great presentation. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, thank you.
This is what the members in our communities want to talk about, so we better be informed on it as board members. It's definitely something that's important.
Makes sense.
Okay, we will move on to our superintendent president's report. Mr. Carrizosa.
Okay, before I make the introduction of the staff member who I have listed on our agenda, I wanted to just alert the board to one more item during my report section tonight. You might recall that each year from the Community College League of California, we get a ballot for the California Community College Trustee Board elections. And we have, I think, appointed from our board, Board Member Mann as our official representative for the California Community College Trustee Association. And our ballot has arrived again this year, like it does each year. And you can see on here a variety of nominated candidates from throughout the community college system. And I think our protocol in the past has been to convene a small board task force of the board president and board member Mann and myself. And there's the backup material here to look over the different candidates, make the selection, and make a recommendation on behalf of the board.
Lori, I think we'll do that again.
So I'll have,
I think it should be board president appointed.
I'll have Megan arrange a time for the two of you to get together. She might, if you need her to email you or to send you the backup materials in advance, we can do
Because I've
that.
gotten emails from a few of them, but probably not all the candidates. But I'm
Okay.
thinking I've looked at 2 or 3 already.
Lori, you always have that option to appoint, but we know you won't.
Yeah, one day I might actually
And
get you on
then-
that.
The other item I had tonight, as is customary when we have new staff come on to the district, we like to bring them at least in the beginning of their tenure here before the board to make an official introduction. You may recall that in the Office of Public Information, Kevin McCusker recently resigned that position as a confidential classified employee. And we did a little revision and reworking of that job description as a confidential classified management position, and interviewed for and selected a new advertising, marketing, and public information coordinator. And it's my privilege tonight to introduce Kristen Foster as our newly hired advertising or marketing and public information coordinator, as we refer to her. Kristen's coming to us having been from Visalia originally, at least graduated high school here, Mount Whitney High School. Has a pretty colorful and interesting career path, which I'll give her a moment to share with you. But she's back with us now, and I'd like to introduce her and give her an opportunity to share a little bit about her background preparation and her first few weeks in the district. So, Kristen?
Good evening. Thank you for your time and some time at the podium. I moved to Visalia in '85 and went through elementary school, junior high, and as Dan said, graduated from Mount Whitney. So if you didn't, don't hold it against me. After that, I chose to go out of state for college. So I went to the University of Denver for my bachelor's and master's degrees in international relations. Don't worry, there is a connection to marketing and public information. As I was graduating with my master's, it was shortly after September 11th. And so I went to work as an analyst for the CIA. And so from there, moved on to a communications company in Los Angeles, doing communications for the government. But as things happened, I got an opportunity to come back here, and very excited to be working to promote the good news and good programs that the College of Sequoia's Community College District has to promote. So just in, kind of some introductory first weeks, some of the projects that, Stan and I have been working on, or Stan's tasked me with, a sort of inventory or assessment of where we are online, our digital presence currently, and then, moving forward and improving upon that. And I was great to hear the Pathways presentation, because that, as well as some of the other transfer programs, we want to work on some common branding and messaging around those. Messaging that's easy for folks who are just new to the programs to understand, and that can be easily carried around to different campuses and promoted. So those are kind of some of the issues or top projects, along with multiple others.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kristen. Do we have any questions of Kristen, board members?
I can say Kristen has agreed to help us on the golf committee too, so she's helped us on that, so appreciate
I'm
it.
sure she's going to get lots of requests.
Yes, I hope to.
Well, welcome to COS.
I had the pleasure of meeting Kristen Friday night at the football crab feed, and so it turns out I happen to have known your father for quite some time. He's the outgoing CFO at the International Agri Center. So those are common.
And even though Kristen was a former analyst for the CIA, even she can't find Ken's phone.
I don't have it.
Is it the crab feed?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it went out with the crab, huh?
No comment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome to COS. Do we have a cost to report? No report? No communication?
They're traveling also.
They're traveling. Their phone's talking to
They're
them.
en
John, they
route.
left before you did. Do we have a CSEA report?
No report.
No report. Thank you, Mr. Lamar. Do we have a CASAFA report? Mr. Nickel? Nope. Okay, thank you for being here, though, at our meeting. We really appreciate your attendance. Okay, we'll move on to our first and only information item tonight, which is our above-base resource allocations for the 2014-15 year.
Okay, if I could draw your attention to tab number 1. This is an information update for you so that you know the outcome of the process that we have in place for allocating resources for above-base resource requests. You might recall in our COS 2.0 manuals, particularly the resource allocation manual, we set forth a process annually for above-base funding to be requested by different departments. The annual allocations of the above-base funding are awarded each spring for implementation, normally to take place during the subsequent fall, and they're in accordance with processes that are set forth in that manual. Above-base resources are requested through participation by each department or unit in the annual program review process. Service areas, things like instructional council, student services council, administrative services, and the president's office, review requests for above-base funding and prioritize those requests through a review of each program review and discussion with input from division chairs where applicable of each department and unit's overall needs. Then the Budget Committee in our process of the District Governance Senate applies a standard rubric to each of the items on the list provided from the Instructional Council. The Instructional Council is that group of division chairs that take a look at the department and division needs. This produces a second form of prioritization and a master priority list that's provided to the District Governance Senate. That Senate then reviews and discusses the proposed list for funding and makes recommendations to the President for final approval. The President takes the time to review those recommendations made by the District Governance Senate and makes final decisions on the list of requests approved for above-base funding. So on the second page, you can see directly from the Budget Committee the kind of the statistics, the data this year of how the above-base allocation request process went. You can see under number 1 the number of requests, from academic services, from student services, from the president's office, from administrative services. And then the final prioritization and recommendations for above-base funding. Remember, each year when you approve our district budget, we propose to you an amount of money to be funded in that budget. This year, we budgeted $200,000, and our recommendation for you tonight is to approve this list as presented by the Budget Committee for a total of $193,594.
So there were 97 requests, huh? They get broken out, but wow.
There were. The Budget Committee, I think, academic services was the one, they only forwarded 29 of the 97 that they received. Then there were additional ones that Student Services, President's Office, and Administrative Services received.
So the
But they were
97,
smaller.
I'm sorry, Christine, the 97 was just from academic services.
Oh, got it. Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
then
yeah,
you
I
see
see.
each of
Okay,
those
which
ones.
obviously is going to be the highest. Okay.
Right.
It looks like most departments have benefited by this year.
Yeah, we were expecting each year that there's not only information out about the above-base process, Earl, but confidence in the system, confidence in the decision-making system, that we would see an increase. And also now, one of the things that we're feeling is working really well is that it comes through, the vast majority of these come through the process of each unit's individual program review. And in their program review, as you can see on the last page here, they have to demonstrate alignment with the district's objectives, some breadth of the impact, measurable outcomes, and then how they were ranked within their own service area. So we can tell what a particular department feels are the most important things.
Are the police officers wearing the cameras already? Yeah, okay.
So we're excited about approving this and bringing this information to the board for update, and hopefully this gives you a sense of the process, how it's working, and continued confidence to support recommendations we may be bringing forward in the future for funding in that above-base budget, because this is how it's getting invested.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, then we will move on to our consent calendar, and all items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the board or any person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent calendar? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
Move that the consent calendar be approved as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved by trustee Zumwalt, seconded by trustee Sherman. Any further questions on the consent calendar? Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to our first action item of the evening is curriculum, new, modified, and deleted. Dr. Lacerna.
Hello again, and the district is recommending that we approve the curriculum report as presented. I want to explain a couple of items on here. If you look at the first page, the first proposal modifications indicates courses with unit value modifications, and then there's an attachment on pages 8 and 9. And again, we have the same thing under programs on page 3. We have programs with unit value modifications, and there's an attachment listed on page 10 and 11. And I wanted to explain what happened there. Back, it was 2009. There's legislation that follows how we count units and hours for every course. Back in 2009, there was a specific read of how that legislation worked, and so numerous colleges all across the state had updated or changed how we were looking at the number of hours and how they calculate to units for different courses. And so we were one of the colleges that made changes at that time. With the new leadership at the chancellor's office, there's now a new read on that legislation. And so the previous legislation allowed us to round up when there was an uneven, number at the end. So it was like a 0.33, you could round up to 0.5. The new leadership doesn't agree with that, and so you need to round down. And so we had a number of classes, along with every other college in the state, that had been rounded up and now need to be rounded down. And so we were proactive about this after we had 3 courses that were returned to us saying that were incorrect math done. And so we went ahead and just submitted all of, or we want to submit, we have been submitting and will submit all of the courses attached. And if you look at the attachment, it looks page 8 like this, and just so I can explain, it looks like this one here, that most of those courses were in agriculture in that area. But they are, for example, just the first one, the economic entomology, was 3.5 units. It's 3 lecture hours, 1 lab hour, and it should have actually been 3 units. And so we're changing all of those back to the new interpretation of the legislation. And if you go to page 10, what you can see is because all of those courses changed, it had an impact on our programs. So if you look at just the first one, agriculture business management is a certificate of achievement, and it had 18.5 once we changed the class, or it had 18.5, but now that we round down, it's going to be 18 units. And so we've worked with all of the programs, departments to modify, and in most cases, just electives had to be moved up or down, but we're going to be sending all these programs and all of these courses forward as a one-time change to the chancellor's office. So that is.
There was no dollars then attached to this. I asked you this.
So there isn't, as far as what faculty get paid or anything, but for apportionment, when we have, not right now, we aren't going to pay anything, but when you had a 3.5 unit class that's now 3 units, that we don't get paid for that extra 0.5 on our apportionment. So, and all of those will start in the fall. There's a couple that didn't have any enrollment this semester, and so we had changed them this semester, but it wouldn't have an impact till the fall.
Okay.
So there's an apportionment impact. It's not huge per se. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so if we look at the rest of page 1, there's modifications there. Most of these are UC transfer changes required for specific courses. On page 2, these are again course modifications, changing descriptions to align either with a 5-year review or for UC or the course identification approval. Page 3, there's 2 more modifications for the course identification changes in a 5-year review. Also on page 3, we have 2 new courses, and those are in the human services area to address community needs, and then a deletion of a dairy science class. Starting on page 3 then is that modification for the programs that we just reviewed that was attached. Page 4, we have modifications to an ag business management tier. Remember, all of the CTE programs have a 2-year review, so these are 2-year reviews and updates. And the auto emissions, we also added some courses to those. On page 5, we have 2-year reviews, again, for the auto, and then starting on page 5, there's several certificates in the construction program, and basically we took a larger program and broke it down into several smaller certificates. So those are the construction management new skill certificates. Bottom of page 6, we have a new associate degree for transfer in early childhood education, and new associate degrees for transfer on journalism and physics on page 7. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board members? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
Move we approve. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Mann, seconded by Mr. Nunes. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 9, our memorandum of understanding with the Corcoran Learning Center Partnership for COS Instruction and Services in Corcoran.
Okay, well, I'm very happy to bring this item before the board tonight for consideration. In May of 2009, College of the Sequoias and Corcoran Unified School District entered into a memorandum of understanding for shared use at that time of the Corcoran Learning Center and specified instructional services. COS promised a $1 million return in funds for facilities and construction funding to Corcoran Unified School District upon the successful passage of Measure J. The funding was to support Corcoran Unified School District instructional facilities that could be used by COS to provide college courses and services to students in the Corcoran community. Upon the passage of Measure J, COS proceeded to construct phases 1 and 3 of the College of the Sequoias Tulare College Center. By 2011, however, the housing market had collapsed and the assessed values of the Tulare area properties declined. This created a gap in the tax revenues available for COS from the issuance of Measure J bonds. COS was forced to borrow funds then to incur some debt to have sufficient revenue to complete that construction that was already started, and as a result of that, and that decreased assessed valuation and the debt that was incurred, COS was not able to pay Corcoran the $1 million as promised. In 2012, the board required administration to prepare a fiscal solvency plan for the district that included a strategy to pay the debt incurred for completing that initial construction of the Tulare College Center. And then over the next 2 years, administration was successfully able to develop that fiscal solvency plan adopted by the board, and it will result in the repayment of those borrowed funds for COS Tulare. In 2013, the board requested administration prepare a plan to pay Corcoran Unified School District the $1 million as promised in the original 2009 MOU. So the administration proposes now to borrow $1 million in funds from the Linwood Reserve to pay Corcoran Unified School District. COS will in turn repay the Linwood Reserve Fund at such time in the future when the assessed values of the property allow for issuance of additional revenue from the Measure J general obligation bond. And what you see here attached tonight is the revised and updated memorandum of understanding. What was kind of interesting for us, the superintendent of Corcoran Unified and his staff and board and myself and our senior staff is to go back and look at the original MOU and recognize how much of it is still valid. And what we've really done is tried to update it now so that it matches what their current commitment is to the instructional facilities that they've already completed, that we have access to, and the modernization that they intend to do, particularly on their high school campus, in their science labs, which if done in accordance with college standards would enable us to teach COS science courses in Corcoran as well. So this gives us the opportunity to have access to their technology center for all of our instructional courses that we currently offer, and in the future to their science labs for science courses should we choose to offer them there. It also renews our commitment to promoting College of the Sequoias among the Corcoran community, to identifying COS as their feeder community college, to expose Corcoran High School students to our campuses, Tulare, Hanford, and Visalia through student visits, and to share in the support of a counselor that would be housed at Corcoran High School, whose responsibility would be to promote and enroll students from Corcoran High into College of the Sequoias. So I think it's a good memorandum of understanding. I think it meets all of the original terms and intentions of the 2009 MOU. I think the spirit of that is there. I just feel really good now that we have a way to actually make good on the monetary commitment we made to them. They supported us in the passage of Measure J. This gives us the opportunity to fulfill what's now known in Corcoran as the $1 million promise. And so if we do that, then they will be taking action on this very same MOU at their board meeting tomorrow night. And then as soon as we are all able to get together, board representatives from here, myself and their superintendent and board members, we would like to plan a joint press release in Corcoran as soon as we get back, hopefully the end of this week.
Okay. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Stan, you said you're really excited about this. Does Superintendent Merlot have the same level of?
He does. 100% agreement, John. We worked on this together between his support staff and mine, and 100% agreement on all aspects. Everybody's very excited.
I shared with Stan, I was excited to fulfill what we promised Corcoran. I know they've been waiting, and I think it's well-deserved, and their community could definitely use it. I think my only concern with this type of MOU is the 10 years and the board's involvement in it. And I don't know how to maybe close that gap. But, you know, when we have MOUs like this that are important to communities like Corcoran, and it's 10 years, you know, in 3 years, if some of us are not on this board, how do we know that it's still doing what it's supposed to and it's still pertinent so that it doesn't come back at a date and time that makes it obsolete again? You know, to leave these out there if they're not doing what they're supposed to in 5 years, right? Because this is a 10-year renewable yearly though, after that. But what happens in the 10 years? Does it get visited every year?
Yes.
Okay.
We visited every year, and what we agreed to do at a minimum was after the first 4 years, Lori, in year 5, you notice in here it says in year 5, revisit, review, and adjust if necessary.
Okay.
So halfway through the 10-year mark, we're going to take a formal look at it.
Perfect.
We figure that's within the normal scope of a term of board members, at least one election, maybe in each district, and an opportunity, though, by looking at it annually over a 4-year period to decide in year 5, do we need to revise it or adjust it in any way?
Okay, got it.
But not to be able to unravel it at all for at least 10 years.
Got it, okay. To keep it intact.
Right,
All
right.
Okay, do we have any further questions?
I would be pleased to approve the, make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
It's been moved by Mr. Nunes, seconded by Mr. Zumwalt. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to the date to where we can actually present that and
Yes,
celebrate.
we'll give you
Another little celebration.
We'll give you a couple days advance notice and try to
Maybe
get that
Jennifer
done.
can get us some COS cookies again.
Yes. Corcoran 2.0.
Okay, moving on to item number 10. The following board policies have been reviewed by Academic Senate and approved by the District Governance Senate and Senior Management. I believe we'll take these 6 board policies as one motion for a second read. Do we have any Mr. Carrizosa?
Any questions?
Any questions? Comments,
Second
concerns?
reading? Yeah.
Okay.
Earl.
Been moved by Mr. Mann,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Sherman. This is not a roll call, correct?
Correct.
No. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, item number 11. This is our notice of intended action to reduce the classified service due to lack of work or lack of funding. Mr. Bratch, this is a roll call vote.
Unfortunately, we have 2 grants that are ending this upcoming fiscal year. The first grant that is ending is Title V HSI/PASEO that is scheduled to end September 30th of 2015. The second grant that is ending is the TRIO Student Support Services Grant, and that is scheduled to end on August 31st of 2015. One of the unfortunate realities of having grants end is that the employees that are funded by those grants no longer have funding to employ them. As a result, we must go through the layoff process. The layoff process requires that we give the affected employees at least 60 days notice from the date they're given notice to the end of their employment here at COS. However, we have decided to give these affected employees as much advance notice as possible, so we've extended the minimum requirement of 60 days and extended it out by several months to make sure these affected employees have the ability and the knowledge that they should probably start looking for another job as soon as possible. With regards to the TRIO grant, we did apply for an extension. Unfortunately, we will not know whether or not that extension is granted until mid-August. However, the district remains hopeful that the TRIO grant will be refunded and the individuals that we are taking action to lay off tonight will actually be reemployed with the approval of the TRIO grant should it come. With that being said, however, you have a resolution in front of you tonight, 2015-04, which has several positions that are being eliminated entirely. and several positions that are having their hours reduced from 100% to 50%. At this time, I would ask the board to take action to approve resolution number 2015-04, authorizing either the layoff of the positions entirely or the reduction in hours of these positions. Should the board approve this resolution, I will meet soon with the CSEA bargaining unit to negotiate the effects of these layoffs.
And these are the least favorite parts of being board members. So these are always tough to do, but we understand that what grant funding is and is all about. So we'll just, we'll wait for further action on the grants in the future. But at this point, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2015-04?
I'll move that we approve measure 2015-4.
Been moved by Mr. Sherman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Nunes. Megan, can you please poll?
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Mann? Trustee Zumwalt?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
I should point out really quick, and I should have brought this up earlier, I did have a typo on here under the grant secretary for, I put it down as Upward Bound Mesa. That should, instead of Mesa, it should be Trio. If I could have that record reflect, instead of Mesa, to strike through with Trio. And that was my mistake, I apologize.
Considering the significance of this action, I think the board ought to
Vote again?
do something to make it official.
Okay, so should we just do another motion with that change?
You can do the motion to approve it again with that amendment and specify that amendment in the motion.
Okay, can I get a motion that reads to that extent? John, would you do that, please?
Sure. So moved.
Okay. It's been moved by Mr. Zumwalt. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Mann to amend the resolution to strike out Mesa and insert the word Trio.
Correct.
Megan, can you please pull the board?
Okay. Trustee Zumwalt?
Aye.
Trustee Mann?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye. Okay, resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Bratch. Okay, item number 12 is also yours, Mr. Bratch.
Recently, we've signed 2 tentative agreements with CASAFA. The first tentative agreement we signed with CASAFA stemmed from an unfair labor practice charge that we were able to meet with CASAFA on January 8th of 2015, and we were able to come up with a resolution to the unfair labor practice charge. And that resolution is included within item number 12, titled Settlement Agreement. What this settlement agreement it will add language to our existing CASAFA master agreement. It will add a new section, 6.3. And the basic gist of that new language is that if an adjunct faculty member applies for a full-time faculty position and is not granted an interview, he or she may contact his or her dean and meet with his or her dean about the application. However, it is understood that no details about the recruitment process or the screening process shall be divulged because that is confidential information. The second agreement that was signed between the district and CASAFA was reached just recently on February 19th, 2015. You'll recall that the district and CASAFA were in the middle of reopener negotiations for the past several months. And fortunately, we were able to reach an agreement, and the terms of that agreement are included within item number 12. However, a few highlights of that agreement are that adjunct faculty members who, as part of their work assignment as work experience coordinators, shall receive mileage. Also, we included some clarifying language with regards to seniority and scheduling of classes. That would be Article 4. And in Article 4, we made, we deleted language that still referenced college council. We no longer use the term college council, but we now refer to it as district governance senate. But more importantly, the biggest agreement we reached was that the salary schedule for adjunct faculty shall increase by 3% retroactive to January 1st of 2015. So we've had some changes in the language, and at this time I would ask the board to formally ratify the tentative agreements reached between the district and CASAFA, both on January 8th, 2015 and February 19th of 2015.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Batch. Do we have any questions, board members? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mann. Can I get a second?
No, second.
Seconded by Mr. Sherman. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The board is grateful to move past that. Thank you, Mr. Nichol, for your cooperation. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to item number 13, which is our public hearing on the district and CSEA's reopener for collective bargaining proposals.
At the February board meeting, we had a presentation of both the district's and CSEA's sunshine proposals. At that time, the board announced that it would be holding a public hearing tonight. So at this time, it's been a month since we presented our sunshine proposals, and I would ask the board that they hold a public hearing to allow members of the public to comment on either of the sunshine proposals that were presented.
Oh, I need to open it, sorry. I really am here. I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any public, what will I call it? Public announcements, public concerns?
Public input on this item.
Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Okay. Oh, now we have to get a motion, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have any more to present, John? Yes.
On item 13, no. Moving on to 14. Do we need an actual motion for 13?
So the motion states how? That we're moving, what's the actual motion?
The
that we're
hearing
making?
has been open and closed, and now you're taking action to accept the proposed
The bargaining proposals.
bargaining
Okay.
proposals. Your acceptance of them allows us to commence.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept?
What he said, I moved.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the bargaining proposal. I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Okay.
What he said, I second.
It's been moved by Mr. Zumwalt, seconded by Mr. Nunes to accept the bargaining proposal reopener for CSEA. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Batch, sorry about that. That's always a two-step process with one on my agenda, and I get confused on that. Okay, we're on item number 14.
Item number 14 is in regards to Mr. Carasosa's continuing employment here at the College of Sequoias. Back in 2012, Mr. Carasosa signed a 3-year agreement, and the terms of that agreement are to expire on June 30th, or June 30th of 2015. And with that, I would give the floor to you, Ms. President Cardoza, about the terms of this new agreement.
Okay, and I will take input from my board members. We did meet at retreat and talked about Mr. Carasosa's employment agreement after an evaluation that we felt is thorough, and reviewing goals and each board member allowing input and deep I guess not deep, but lengthy discussions. We all agree that Mr. Carasosa is doing a fabulous job for the college. And in looking over the contract, I guess as stated in the agenda item, the board was wanting and to propose a 3% salary increase, just as was given to other factions of the college. And after some discussion with President Carasosa, he declined, but wanted some language change in terms of health benefits and retirement due to the cap on health benefits, which we all understood and spent some time looking over those numbers. And as a board, we agreed and thought that that was a very fair proposal that he made. And I'm going to ask my board members to chime in and see if there's anything else they'd like to add.
That's not what this says.
No? What do you think it says?
It says recommended action, the board proposes a new 3-year employment contract commencing such and such, was the board proposed to increase superintendent president's ongoing annual base salary by 3%,
Keep reading.
consistent with the increase approved for all other management employees.
The last
Right.
paragraph, John, it says that the superintendent requested to
Oh.
limit the number of vacation days, which we did. Then if you turn over to the back page, it says he respectfully declined the increase to a salary.
I
and
read
he-
this earlier today, and I said, huh, okay.
You thought you were getting what you wanted.
The way you wanted it.
He was.
He decided what he's going to do.
So the contract doesn't have that though, John. So we're not trying to trick you.
No, it's
It may
my-
appear that way.
It's my fault for being less thorough than I should have been.
So the contract itself does not have the 3% salary raise. It does have the change in language as it reflects for the fringe benefits, which is the health insurance in terms of retirement or resignation. So the language was changed on that. Would you like to add anything, Stan?
The previous, I think just simply put, the previous contract, because it was before we had a cap on employee health insurance, didn't address a cap on the premiums that will be paid for the superintendent's health insurance. I voluntarily accepted the cap back in 2012 when it was implemented for everybody else. The contract now reflects that I will have a cap like everyone else. And that way it's clear. The other thing the contract did is it allowed me to accumulate unlimited vacation days unused. The rest of the management staff is limited to no more than 2 years allocation of vacation days accumulated. I changed the language so that there's a limit on the number of vacation days that the superintendent can accumulate, consistent with everyone else. The board was very gracious in offering the 3% salary increase. I respectfully declined, and they listened to my concerns and rationale for that and supported my decision. So the rest of the contract remains status quo.
With that, you concerned me for a minute when you said he declined our contract. But having that, thank you, John, for that
He didn't
explanation.
decline the contract, yeah.
I would
Just the
move.
3%.
I would move for the approval of the contract with the superintendent president.
I'd second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments? John?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I know you well.
First place, I have every intention of voting for this, but I still want to say something. Because I don't think this should be about Stan, it should be about the position. And I look back at our history where we've had quite often great difficulty in attracting fields, good candidates for the field when superintendents move on, retire, whatever. And I think that we should try and keep the salary of this position up by keeping pace with it for college. That said, I intend to vote for this, but the reason I speak up now is I don't want this to be a habit. As while Mr. Carasosa may be satisfied with leaving his salary the same, and 3% is no big deal, but if it's 3% every year, it is. Someday he's going to retire, and if we don't keep the salary up, we'll regret not doing it. So I've said my piece.
Okay, well, and the board did spend time discussing this at our retreat, and I think it was a good process. I think our evaluation process is pretty thorough, and you know, we kind of outlined goals, and we're trying to implement those into COS 2.0, and you know, Stan's done a really good job of keeping the board and our goals and objectives in line with COS 2.0 and some real accountability that I think it seems to really solidify and get better each year. And as a board president, I appreciate that, and I think all of us seem to be on the same page with a few little, maybe we don't quite agree on every little thing, but in general, it was a really good discussion on our evaluation of our superintendent. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further comments or discussion items?
Just hurry before I change my mind.
Before he runs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So we do have a 3-year contract.
That
3
was
years.
the most important thing to me, that's right.
And I think there's no further business. Thank you all of you for staying, and we will see you all next month. Meeting adjourned.